There is a white cloth folded on the table in front of you. On top of it, a short knife. You roll up your sleeve, lay your left hand flat, and press the blade against the first joint of your little finger. You are not being punished by your enemies. You are doing this to yourself. This is yubitsume. And it's an apology. You made a mistake, and a man you owe everything to is watching from across the room, silent. You weren't born here. Nobody is. To understand how a man ends up cutting off his own finger to say sorry, you have to go all the way back to the bottom, to the toilets. Promise loop. Because by the end of this, you'll be untouchable. A ghost who can make a man disappear with a whisper. But right now, you're nobody. Let's begin. Rank 1. Janshi I Minarai, the apprentice. It's 4 a.m. You don't wake up to an alarm. You wake up because the floor is cold and you're sleeping on it in one room with 6 other men. You don't carry a weapon. You carry a scrub brush. Your job is the toilets, then the boss's car. You wash it until you can see your own face in the paint. Then you run for cigarettes. You pour the drinks. You stand by the door for 12 hours and say nothing. Your salary is 0, not low, 0. You are free labor. The senior men look straight through you like furniture, but you watch everything. You learn how they bow, how they speak, when to disappear. You're not a gangster, you're an audition. And almost nobody passes. Rank 2. Ruo Jung Wakashu, the foot soldier. You survived the floor. Now you have one job, and it's beautiful in its simplicity. Make money. You run the illegal card games. You collect protection from the bars on your street. You walk onto construction sites and make sure they choose the family's trucks. A rival tries to sell on your block. Now, you make him leave. You buy your first real suit. You start to feel like somebody. But here's the catch nobody warns you about. The money isn't yours. Every week you hand the cash up to your sworn older brother. That's the tax. Skim even $1 and you're not a thief. You're a traitor. And you've already seen what happens to those. When a fight breaks out, you're the one the police arrest. The bosses stay home. Rank 3, Yadaru di Shatei, the younger brother. You don't earn this rank on the street. A lot of men earn it in a cell. Maybe you did 3 years in prison and never said a single word to the police. That silence is your resume. Now you're a Shatei, a sworn younger brother bound to your boss by a cup of sake poured in a ceremony older than your grandfather. That bond is stronger than blood, cannot be undone. You have your own small turf now, a row of bars, a couple of gambling parlors. You teach the new recruits how to bow, how to threaten a shop owner without ever raising your voice. You're a mentor, but you're still a soldier. When the territory gets hit, the boss doesn't call a lawyer. He calls you, and you go. Rank 4, Yuzhongdi Kyodai, the sworn brother. You trade the baseball bat for a briefcase, because now you learn the real secret. And it's not what you think. The Yakuza weren't hiding. For decades, your office had the family's crest mounted on the door, in public, on a normal street. You carried a business card with the gang's name printed on it. The boss's face was on television. One major family even published its own members-only magazine. The police knew your address, because you put it on the mailbox. You manage the family's front companies now, a trucking firm, a waste disposal company, a talent agency. To the public, ordinary jobs. To you, machines for washing dirty money clean. You plan the boss's travel down to the second. Which armored car where the bodyguards stand. You carry 2 phones and never, ever mix them up. Rank 5, Huiji Kaikei, the accountant. You never throw a punch again. You are far more dangerous than that. You hold the books. Every dollar the street earns flows up through you. You know which politician took a donation. You know which legitimate real estate tower was built on extortion. You move money through shell companies in 3 countries before breakfast. And you feel the walls closing in. Since the Anti-Organized Crime Act, the country has been strangling your family on purpose. As a known member, you can't open a bank account. You can't rent an apartment. You can't get a phone contract or life insurance. The law decided the easiest way to kill the Yakuza wasn't bullets. It was paperwork. And it's working. We're exactly halfway up the ladder. Everything below you is muscle, fists, fear, a knife on the street. Everything above you is something far more dangerous, power that never has to raise its voice. Before we continue, my name is Calvin, and we just launched this channel for people who love history. The goal is simple. Tell the stories no one really talks about. Do you want to support us and help us make better videos? Consider subscribing. It's free and it really helps more than you think. Alright, let's get back to the story. Rank 6, Komon, the advisor. You don't give orders. You give counsel, bow and the boss listens to no one else. You're the family's brain, the strategist. When a soldier gets arrested, you don't panic. You pick up the phone and the legal team is at the station within the hour. You're also the cleaner, like not of bodies, of trails. You burn the documents, you wipe the drives, you make sure that if the police ever pull a thread, it snaps long before it reaches the top. You've stopped thinking like a criminal and started thinking like a chess player who is always 9 moves ahead. Every man below you is a piece, and you already know which ones you're willing to sacrifice. Rank 7, Yadaru Dito Shateigashira, the regional commander. You stand on a high-rise balcony and look down at a city that's almost entirely yours. 5-6 crews report up to you. You don't run a block anymore, you run a region. Your job is to make the family bigger, and you've learned that bats are for amateurs. You see a port city held by a smaller, weaker gang. So you send in businessmen. You buy the buildings they operate from. You buy their debts. You cut off their cash slowly until they are desperate. And then you invite their leader to a quiet tea house. You pour him a cup. You smile. Join us, you say, or disappear. Most of them join. You swallow an entire territory without firing a single shot. But the man above you is watching. Shine too bright, earn too much, get too loved. And he starts to wonder if you want his chair. Rank 8, Ruo to Wakagashira, the underboss. You walk into the room and 20 men in expensive suits stand and bow before you sit. You're the Wakagashira, number 2. The boss is the king. You're the one who actually runs the war. When a rival family kills 2 of your men, the talking is over. You don't pull the trigger. You're far too valuable now. You hand 3 nervous young men a photograph and 3 clean pistols, and you say, "Don't come back until it's done." Then you turn on a police scanner and you play a chess game with real lives. Ditch the car, take the subway tunnel, I'll have a clean car on the other side. You start a bar fight across town just to pull the patrol cars away. And you carry the heaviest duty of all. You are the shield. If the police ever build a case against the father, you step forward. You say, "It was me." You take 10 years in a cell so he can stay free. You do it without hesitation because that is what the heir does, and everyone knows you're next. Rank 9, Zhu Chang Kumicho, the supreme boss. 20 men are kneeling, foreheads to the mat. None of them dares to look at your face. You made it. You're the oyabun, the father. And here's the cruel joke at the top of the mountain. You've become a ghost. You will never touch a single dollar from a single crime again. There are 6 layers of men between you and any wrongdoing. You whisper one word to your underboss, and 3 days later, in a city you'll never visit, a man simply stops existing. You divide the country with the heads of the other great families, like slicing a cake. You decide who eats and who starves. But you have no peace. Your best friend wants your seat. A police unit exists for the sole purpose of putting you in a cage. You can't walk to a park. You can't buy your own groceries. You live behind high walls and cameras, a prisoner in your own kingdom. There is no retirement. There is no golf. You sit on this throne until the day you die. So look at what you built. In 1963, there were an estimated 184,000 of you. By 2009, 80,000. And in 2024, for the first time in history, the entire Yakuza of Japan fell below 20,000. To roughly 18,800 aging, shrinking men. 20 straight years of decline. You climb to the top of an empire that's quietly turning to dust beneath your feet. Here's the part nobody told you at 4 a.m. with that scrub brush. The word Yakuza comes from a losing hand in an old card game. 8, 9, 3, Yakuza, the worst possible score. The most worthless cards on the table, and that white cloth from the very beginning. Now you're the man across the room watching someone else press a blade to his own finger to apologize to you. One day it'll be yours on the cloth again. It always comes back around. You didn't choose this life. This was the life that chose you. And if you think the Yakuza were ruthless, wait until you see your life as every rank in a cartel. That one's coming next.